We end the day on a belter. It's going to be EU versus NA here. Tempo Storm going up against Fnatic here for the Mid-Season Brawl, day number 2. To my left-hand side, Jhow, it's Kaldor, it's Dread. He's always ready, so it's fine. And it's going to be quite the game, because if you came into, say, 6 months ago, even a year ago especially, I would say, people would just be like, no problem, this is a Fnatic win, all good and it's all fine. But now, with the 2 days that have unfolded so far here, Kaldor, I think it's absolutely nowhere near that kind of prediction level that we're at this point.
No, it's not. I'm actually, from a European perspective, I'm really afraid for Fnatic for multiple reasons, because they already told me as they came in today that they don't really feel so good today. It's just, they are not sick or anything, it's just like one of these low energy days that you sometimes have. And we saw that yesterday. They were super hyper, they were super hyphy going through these games, and a bit of that energy is missing today. And you've seen it in that second game against China already. And on top of that, you have North America stepping it up to an insane level. We already have seen Heroes Hearth just now, we've seen Tempo Storm perform incredibly well. So I, just from a gut feeling, would at this point actually say that North America has a bit of an upper hand in this.
I mean, you say, you know, America stepping up to a crazy level here. Is it about time, Dread?
I mean, in my opinion, absolutely. I feel like it has been surprising how long, I guess, that kind of recovery had taken. But I'm very satisfied that we kind of sit in an era where I don't think it's necessarily, you know, 50-50 or at the level that I would like, but I very much, you know, I think that there's a very bright future here for North America.
Well, let's focus on Fnatic whilst we're taking a little bit of a look at them and breezing through these members. What do you make of them?
Well, as we're clearly breezing through here, you know, Fnatic, I mean, look, we all know the incoming changes, and so far, the team mentality, they've been smiles, they've been together, they've been cohesive, but do losses affect that? Does it affect the mentality coming in, especially when you drop a game to a team that you did not expect to drop, and that was just a few hours ago? They seem to still be in good spirits.
The one you talk about losses and how it affects the team. The loss was not only a bit of a problem because it was a loss, but also Mane was very unhappy when someone dared to pick Kalthas against him. Is that apparently immediately when Kalthas was picked against him, he was just like, he's like, I'm going to shut the guy down. How can I dare take my hero against me? So that he also lost that game was probably one of those unhappy moments that he had today.
Yeah, I ran into him, like, I didn't run into him. He made me a little bit more him and me. Kind of walking out of the building, very, you know, headphones on, definitely I need a moment of peace. And I was wondering, I was like, wow, that makes it makes sense. It's the Kalthas on the other side of the battlefield.
It's not the loss itself, it's that someone dared to take his hero against him, the hero he wants to come back, where he said, I really want to bring him in, but I feel like he doesn't really do the job, and then someone else trumps him up on that.
It's a phenomenal image to think that 4 of them are like, "Dah, the loss." Mane is just in the corner. It's like, but regardless, let's talk about Tempo Storm.
That's Mane.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. Let's talk about Tempo Storm here. Here's a member of the team that I think has really performed quite well here so far, Dread. It is, of course, June.
Yeah, very much so. Essentially, mainly with the Malfurion, right? The roots in the Twilight Dream uses have been very much on point. I mean, he's always been pretty successful when it comes to the Nature Cure uses and everything of the like, but those have been the 2 standout for me and a large portion of why I think they're doing well. That being said, I feel like he's being set up by Cattle, and I feel like Cattle is playing out of his mind. Which I have a lot to talk about onto the draft when it comes to some of the problems here from Tempo Storm. I don't know if now is the time or the place, but I feel like there's a lot to be said about their positioning in the drafts and whether or not that's going to be the same case here versus Fnatic.
I wholeheartedly agree. And there's a look at Cattle. It's just his play and whatever hero he's on just sets the tone in every single game that they do. In a role that he's supposed to do that on, he does it at an exemplary rate. And I think that's the thing. And then, of course, you know, we've got Fan. Fan just is an all-around standout player. He's been the one to flex onto the thrall. He can play the range. There's so much that this team can do, and I think he is the main reason why they're able to have the success that they're able to have.
I mean, that's something that's really important as well, is that for Tempo Storm, when they do have success here, or potentially do have success against Europe, at least we can claim that Caterpillar is German.
Exactly.
And we got June, he's a Korean, so we got that going for us too. We stole from the other regions that are slightly better just so we could roll around.
To be honest, I already had a couple of interactions with Kettle at the tournament now where we were just sitting in the player area and he is just complaining about some inefficiency at certain things, and I'm just cracking up because it's just so perfect. Like, he's the one with the German blood, and the one thing he complains about is when he watches other people's game, he's like, how inefficient the rotation is, how they're like 2 seconds off, and I'm sitting there like, I know where that comes from.
I like it a lot. You can get those hashtags going as well in chat here for who you think is going to win. I think this one's going to be quite heated indeed in Twitch chat, because it always is. It's EU versus NA, so why on earth not? It's the best way to end the day. But again, we're getting to that point now where I think even some of our EU minds are saying, this is going to be pretty hard for Europe.
Oh, but I want to start raising some of the big, glaring, holy cow situation that we found ourselves in. Tempo is only picked from the second pick slot throughout the entirety of this tournament so far, which has allowed them to have the power play standard rotation with the garage priority that they have had. If any team just puts them out of that position, I am pretty confident this draft is going to look severely different, because the Into the Fray usages out from Caterpillar, he's half support, half warrior. The guy is ridiculous in what he's making happen. And I don't think it's going to be the breaking point, but I can't help but feel like somebody's got to be looking at that and going, this priority and what we've seen out of Tempo has been so cut and clean that it's time to poke the beast.
And we have Volskaya.
Wooby has definitely looked at that quite significantly, and he's been talking to them the entire time. Also, I feel from the European perspective, we can also have the cop-out that they're changing their lineup, so...
the excuses come in.
Exactly. I already have. Don't worry. I got you, Kalaris.
Nice.
I have everything prepared for all the scenario.
No, you already got the fact that you guys have more jet lag than the North American players.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like levels. They're tired. Their energy level.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the concept of Kaldor in the back. For a few years now, has had this kind of do not break unless EU's having a hard time. He breaks it open. It's a folder of excuses that comes along.
John's everywhere.
It's out. It's happening, boys.
I've been collecting these excuses for years.
All right, let's get into it. Game number 1. The draft is ready. Fnatic goes up against Tempo Storm.
I feel like Tempo right now is just debating, are we willing to give up the garage? Because the garage is going to have high priority, I think, for both teams. And then if you don't get the garage, then what's your backup option? Is it the Johanna? Are you willing to early commit to a Johanna? Because we saw in the previous series, Johanna being banned out, which was a very focus on what NA likes to do, especially into those scenarios. So other things to consider, the Malfurion, the Tracer, the Genji, are all going to have extremely high priority on this battleground.
So first flex there on the ban for Tempo. Gotten a lot of Tracer out from them. Almost every slot so far. So now, is it the Garrosh is the big question here, because Tempo is, again, in all 4 games that we've gotten from them, they've been able to pick that up into the secondary slot. Oh, man.
Yeah, like the Garrosh play has been highly impactful for them, and I can definitely see Fnatic taking that away. They're not really forced into any place here. Usually you would say, okay, Malfurion is a top pick for the first rotation, but we've seen Fnatic in particular with so many plays take Malfurion, but I want to still highlight that they have so many plays and playstyles and drafts where they heavily rely on Stukov, and Smexy is insane on Stukov. So now we still have the Malfurion as a choice, but that means that Tempo Storm is once again getting access to their Garrosh play.
On the other side of that, we saw June play that Stukov just earlier. Didn't quite have that same type of success. Obviously, the sustain is one of the main reasons why you have it on this battleground. They came up a bit short against Gen G, and so is that into the mindset of, can we run this again? Is this something that can fit? Do we need to early commit to it? The Garrosh here obviously is being considered, but it's a matter of what do we pair with it? And then you also have to start thinking about Glaurung's heroes. Sometimes we've seen that targeted, because if Fnatic tries to pick that off lane and then bans a second one, that's an old NA strategy that a lot of teams have worked into recently.
I mean, from beginning to end, Tempo looks their weakest when Glaurung is pressured into an awkward hero, and that is already not going to be an option. High priority onto the Sonya from Tempo Storm. That's one of those moments where I go, just again, because knowing the intricacies of the team, I feel like that adjustment is, I don't know if necessary, but I think it's a very safe play, and it's one I definitely support. And they got the Garrosh, so Tempo's got to feel good. Tempo's got to feel very satisfied with that rotation for themselves.
I mean, for Fnatic, of course, the question is once again how we're going to play around Mene. Usually the mage pick for him comes in a bit late. So normally when we're looking towards the tanks, they have shown a bit of a priority towards Muradin, who has been very highly prioritized at the tournament here so far. So Muradin is establishing himself next to Garrosh as the second in line, I want to say. But for me, the main question is still what Quacknix is going to play here. And I could see him with a Junkrat later on. That's a pick that we've seen quite a lot. Still open here. Genji was taken away, but Fnatic has played their fair amount of Junkrat in the European scene.
And that's one of the things that Volskaya kind of warrants. And we actually saw a Quacknix on that melee, I believe, earlier. And it's one of those things that this Battleground warrants a little bit differently, is that yes, you can have that burst potential, but you still have to have some consistent damage, some sustained damage in some form or fashion. And Li Ming, as skilled as Mene is, it's still skill shots. And if you are not hitting one skill shot in one rotation or two in another, then all of a sudden those fights are not going your way. So I think that point that you made of where do we see Quacknix, where do we get that sustained damage? Is it going to be the Thrall again? Because I believe he played the Thrall just earlier.
Yeah, it depends heavily on what if they wanted to play with a triple melee again or not. They've shown that a bit, and if they do, then normally we see Quacknix on Thrall and Benny goes on a Dehaka, a Blaze or something along the lines. In the setup here, if they do that, it would also open up a lot of space for Li Ming to really just not be, to be very, very safe in the way that he's engaging those battles.
But I feel like Li Ming came in way earlier in the draft than I expected.
But I think that's because of a Jaina ban that's going to come in second rotation. Tempo Storm has been prioritizing that highly. It synergizes well with the Garrosh and the Sonya. You pick up your mage, you allow yourself to be able to deny the mage in the halfway through. Granted, I personally, again, based on the Li Ming decision-making, I almost would have rather see the Jaina in that rotation rather than that. Granted, we haven't seen the entirety of Fnatic's draft. It's just, you know, looking forward to it. I think that does open up a lot. If they do not ban towards the Jaina, or at least a mage in that front, I do feel like it is interesting to be able to see that, and I wonder where the adjustment is going to come in later.
Now, Europe is not really that hot on Jaina in general, as NA, for example, had a massive amount of Jaina being played throughout the regular season. One of the reasons is that Mene in particular, when you talk to him, he will play the Jaina if he feels that it fits, and especially when they're going for a blow-up comp, but he feels that on an individual level, he has more of an impact if he plays Li Ming than over Jaina. So that's one of the reasons why oftentimes he personally would rather lean towards the Li Ming. But then again, he's not the one drafting, so it's definitely a draft issue, but if you give him his personal pick, he is going to prioritize that Li Ming for that reason.
Dread, I 100% agree with that. Jaina ban, I think if you've seen any bit of North America, you know they love it in this rotation. So the fact that we see the Tassadar, maybe they want to stay away from the potential Vala TAS, which we've seen from some of the Korean teams, but I think more Tracer TAS is definitely something we know Fan loves to run on this Battleground. So Jaina, but what else are we going to get?
I will say that Tassadar is a hero that I feel like at this tournament has kind of gone, you know, unappreciated on the situations where he can gain a lot of value just because how the meta is kind of transformed. I do feel like he's got a little bit more of a place, and I actually really enjoy that ban even coming out from them. Like if they, I was not one that came to mind, but now that I see it, I do enjoy that even, you know, outside of it. That being said, I'm going to assume that we get a Jaina in this rotation out from Tempo Storm. I don't feel like they're going to avoid. Ooh, okay. Mixing it up a little bit here at least. Medivh and a Stukov.
Medivh is something for Tempo Storm that has not looked good.
No. No, it is not their best hero. Okay, well, when Psalm is on it, it's a little bit more impact, but I can't help but feel like when we do see Fan make the transition over, it's not having the, you know, kind of impact that I would like to see. And that being said, I also feel like Fan is having kind of a weaker tournament overall, so I feel very, very stressed seeing that rotation from Tempo.
I have a question, and is it a pick out of reaction than anything? Because when I was looking for Fnatic's draft, I thought to myself, maybe Medivh might fit in there, and obviously it can be a reaction to any kind of Li Ming combos that come out. What do you think?
Well, Stukov obviously has more sustain, and the bio kill switch is on a long cooldown, so it does make it tough sometimes to save single target. And at the same time, I think that if Fnatic is going into that melee heavy composition, you want to have that escape option, especially if the Earthquake comes down. We're not going into that melee heavy composition. We're getting an old school Quacknix fall stat here. Phoenix?
Yeah, I do like...
Because the Jaina definitely is not as appealing, because Medivh basically acts as your mage damage, and you need some consistent damage.
Li Ming, Thrall, the Jib's in my way on the last pick, so I can't really see it. Falstad, all very vulnerable. Malfurion, so two very squishy health pools with the support that can't heal very effectively into major amount of bursts. What is the tool that provides the burst here that has the mobility follow-up into it? They still go with the Jaina.
That is very surprising.
I will say, I don't think that's... Yes, okay, you are correct in the sense that like Medivh makes up for what typically you see that Jaina Sonya pairing for, but I do not look at that and go, it's like whenever you see the double mage, you're like, oh, how are we ever going to get killed? The mobility provided mixed with the Jaina slow and the utility of the Sonya follow-up, I think it's better than normal when we see this kind of setup.
It's not your traditional double mage, I suppose, when you've got something like a Medivh to hand.
And it goes back to the same point I made about Fnatic is if you're not landing your Qs as Medivh, you're not you're not very effective. At that point, you're a support, and you're trying to get the movement. And I think a lot of it is going to rely on Garrosh.
That was interesting.
For anybody who couldn't hear, which is actually everybody watching, some loud, stern words were thrown out from the side of Fnatic.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I hate to cut you off, Jay, but it's time for predictions before we get into this game.
This is a toughie.
It is, isn't it?
I love that he's on the first spot, by the way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Ooh.
I think regardless of what he picks, we should all go the opposite. Anyway, continue.
You think Caldor's really going to go
No, he doesn't care.
The Medivh is the only thing that makes me go, oh, I can't support this, but I'm still going to, just because Tempo is a step ahead of Heroes Hearth, and Heroes Hearth I think was pretty impressive so far, and I do think Tempo has what it takes. They've grown a lot.
Everything in my brain says Tempo. I have to stick with Fnatic though. Some regional pride for the first game. I'm not going to flip-flop here. But when I look at a Garrosh flip into a Stukov silence and then the Jaina damage behind it, I'm very much afraid for Fnatic. So the only thing that makes me vote for them is really just faith.
Okay.
Well, the double mage scares me, but I do believe that they can get those early game picks, maybe get that first protector and roll around that. So Tempo Storm, for me, is definitely going to be a thing here in this game. And all eyes.
Are you going to balance the tides?
Remember where you come from.
Remember where you want to go. I don't know. I'm just coming up with stuff at this point.
All right, I agree. Fnatic, let's go. Quick, quick. Yes. No. All right, it's time. Let's check what you guys think. 55-45.
We win.
No, you don't. No.
Game. Sorry, boys. Wrap this up.
It's a technicality.
Second draft. Let's go.
All right, it's going to be NA versus EU. Casters, what do you think? Quick, one of you each, please.
Fnatic.
Tempo. I'll take
you go.
America.
Wait, this is weird. No,
Right down the line.
What do you mean? He's the European caster.
I'm being
you're
honest.
not wrong.
Where else
I
could this
don't
go?
want to talk to you, Caleris. I just want to get in this match.
Go away. Get out of here.
All right, let's do it. Dude, this match is so great to end the day on. Tetra, how you feeling, man?
I am feeling so hyped. It's like you said, it's such a good match. EU versus NA. NA has been doing so well this tournament, but EU, the consistent usual winner, might I say. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, introducing on the left-hand side, it is Tempo Storm with Caterpillar on Garrosh, Glaurung on Sonya, Jude on Stukov, Fan on Medivh, and Sam. He's playing the Jaina.
And on the right side, in the red, it will be Fnatic. And we will have Smexy playing Malfurion, Mene on Li Ming. Once again, he's been a terror already on that character. Bad Benny playing Thrall. Quiet Nick's back on his trademark Falstad. And Breeze, speaking of trademarks, on ETC.
I am loving it. We have almost all of them on a trademark hero. The Thrall's the only one I'd say is a little bit not exactly a trademark here, but it's still super good. So, Volskaya Foundry moving in. And so far, talent-wise, that's a Gathering Storm. Is that the name of the talent for Falstad? Yeah, Gathering Storm.
Looking to be able to have that poke come in a little later on, trying to stack up as quick as possible.
A little bit of burst.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that and see how far Quack is able to get on top of that. Also around level 7, whenever you're able to get that boomerang for wave clear, being very, very annoying on that character and trying to help out with that one-shot capability when ETC does get that power slide into a root. So scary pickup at level 1, but it's going to take some time to stack up.
It really is, and also it's very interesting that they're going for the burst damage when they're up against a Medivh. They have committed, instead of damage over time, to maybe play around the Force of Will into, we'll just hope he doesn't have it off cooldown, or just play around the cooldown itself.
Well, that could be the idea. When the cooldown goes down and you have that Force of Will finally being used and you try to clean somebody up, you're totally right in that regard. Just have that quick damage come out fast enough. But the issue is trying to find a target to hop onto. Would it be enough burst here for Garrosh in the later stages? That's the real question.
It's a wonderful question, especially with the armor against burst damage being potentially very solid here. Sonya, though, could be a very reasonable target if they can get to her before Ignore Pain and Nerves of Steel comes online, considering her level 1 talent is only physical armor.
Good point. So far, Tempo Storm doing what they do best on this battleground, and that's control the items. Grabbing a turret already and moving straight into the healing camp. Now, Fnatic able to scout it out, but only grabbing one turret for themselves. So, in terms of item control, going into the middle control point phase, Tempo Storm will have a slight advantage, but in terms of experience, we're staying pretty even as we move towards 4.
The Glaurung doing a very nice lane hold in the bot lane, which allows Cattle to try and dominate this middle area. Gets a bit outnumbered, though, so does have to pull back to June, but he was in no immediate danger there. It was just a decent setup.
Now looking at level 1 here for Thrall working on the Echo of the Elements, 11 out of the 20 stacks that you need. Your major goal when you are playing this battleground is you want to finish that puppy as soon as you can. You want to have it during the control point for the poke. Also, when you get level 7, you're able to finish off that Ancestral Wrath, which you normally see at level 7 coming in from a Thrall. So you're seeing Thrall rotate between the middle and the bottom lane to finish off that stack ASAP.
And Thrall, the poke damage on this map is so important. And like we already mentioned, with Falstad going for that Gathering Storm, this is a triple poke team with Li Ming, Thrall, and the Falstad. Garrosh is going to have a pretty miserable time if he does get kited and zoned, but if he can get position out on the points, if he's able to dodge some of the skill shot versions at least, obviously you can't dodge Garrosh's Q at this point, but it could allow them to still control the area as Fnatic might be a bit more hesitant to engage with all this poke.
All right, well, it's time to clash over the control point, and we'll see if Tempo Storm is able to control this middle area, especially with that Medivh floating around. We'll see if those portals are just enough to allow Cattle to get those pickoffs on targets. Going in for that Groundbreaker, hitting Mane there, taking a little bit of damage, but also trying to work on his own quest here. He has 2 out of the many that he needs to get that cooldown reduction.
Breeze moving on for the contestation. Quacknix flies down as well. This does mean numbers advantage is looking good for Fnatic here as Benny rotates up from bot lane. Sonya, the only one a little late here. Cattle takes a lot of damage. You can see though, the portal mastery, the first portal point has already been set, but it is let expire here. No commitment as of yet from the Medivh.
Garrosh takes some poke, but doesn't mind too much. They had 48% out of the 9 already here in terms of setup. Cattle goes in for that knockback here, but misses the throw. So Breeze comes back in, does a little bit of poking for himself, while Mane is just shelling out spells.
Cattle is desperately trying to get near him, but this is very reminiscent of Phoenix versus Garrosh from one of the earlier series, where it's just consistent kiting. Instead, they refocus efforts onto Psalm! That force of will, beautifully well done to protect that Jaina here by Medivh.
Now, Glorong was able to get 7 for his team first, and they come in for the rotation, but Fnatic was able to get a little bit of damage on top of Tempo Storm there, meaning that they won out on the trade as they hit 7 for themselves. Blizzard coming out as well from Psalm to try and control the space here, as we are going to the wire, it looks like, on this control point.
Back and forth. Both these teams want to try and gain control. Thrall has rotated to bot lane to try and maybe soak his team up some experience. And once again, this is a pretty decent lane to soak due to the quickness you can rotate Fax to the Fountain. Although ETC getting silenced. Great spear by Sonya with a power slide out. The immediate counter damage onto Glaurung and Cattle forces Tempo Storm back as their front line is just too wounded. With the healing pulse already burned, that turret is going to be potentially the deciding control point until June can get in position.
Breeze able to get that armor off just the last second before that Psalms did come out, so that kept him alive with the help of the heals coming in from Malfurion. And Fnatic with the turret will control the point, but Tempo Storm, they have time here. They're ahead 95 to 40%.
Tempo Storm have 2 turrets as well. They're moving on. Here comes the portal. Garrosh going for Breezy, but a lovely face melt. And that forces June straight back through the portal. But the double turrets are down. Great damage coming out here. Bad Betty is forced back here, but Li Ming continues to shell them.
It's decision time here. Fnatic needs to decide if they want to stick. They're going to go ahead and clear out the turrets, will make it much easier from the contest at this point. And Tempo Storm with 2 turrets were able to get a kill, but they still have time. But it's starting to dwindle here as Fnatic is looking to control and take over the point.
It is full contention though right now, but still 95 to 62. It only takes 1 backing up or 1 mistake from Fnatic for Tempo to take this first protector. Great use of portal there to allow Garrosh to grab the Fountain.
This is all about Cattle right now. Cattle will find the opportunity for Fnatic. Fnatic are doing their best to focus him and get him low, so if he makes a mistake, they can go for the kill. And Domino comes out, Breeze gets tossed, but he's just fine.
Not the best throw there by Cattle. That could have potentially been a kill onto Breeze. Good face melt again, though, by Breeze, preventing that spear from really getting into position onto Quacknix. They move forward. Maida picks up the kill.
And man is showing why he picks this Li Ming so often in this tournament, finding the kill on Psalm. The force of will being used on another target, and that meant that James was primed for the pickings. And now Fnatic moves straight on over and finally secures a control point. They jump up to 67%. If Jaina hurries up, Tempo Storm may have 1 more attempt here.
They maybe can. Cattle's used Fountain, though. That's such a huge deal. June is just blowing out the healing. They have a globe they can grab here. They can try and move on and delay in time for Jaina, especially seeing as Fnatic are committing to this turret. But they need to move back in. Breeze can't hold this alone.
Breeze holding for now. Man, right behind him, trying to siege away. Somebody goes in. That's going to be a spear. Immediate force of will, but now it's on cooldown. And Bad Benny is going to go forward, working those auto attacks and kite away.
It's a back and forth, another great force of will. The Arcane Explosion has got so much damage as well, but that is it. Overtime is over, and the continuous damage from Fnatic's poke is just too much as they move out with the first protect.
That was a 3-minute battle that netted 1 kill for Fnatic, and that 1 kill was just enough, and barely, might I say here, for them to be able to grab the Protector. We are neck and neck in experience. Fnatic able to grab a slight lead here thanks to those turrets as they hit level 10, and they'll have a small window here to play around as Bad Benny and Quacknix will go ahead and work on the bottom while the Protector and ETC heads to the top.
It's going to be a big chunk of turrets here picked up by Fnatic to give them a nice boost. Now, what was pretty even in terms of experience, now it is a full level lead for Fnatic. They've had their heroics for a while now. They can't really use them because, well, Sonya goes down. Apparently, they can certainly do that. Nice little gank there by Thrall. I think he's using the Sundering to pick up that kill with the help of Falstad. But yeah, Fnatic have their heroics. Temperstorm finally picking their own up.
And with that pickup, that means Quacknix can now head to the top lane and they can get a little bit aggressive on this fort. If things don't go well, they still have that Mighty Gust available. Garrosh being focused down. He's going to toss Falstad to the back left, but he gets picked off, and Quacknix easily barrel rolls away, and this fort is next.
And that was Garrosh just getting absolutely pushed out of position there, getting locked down and burned down. Protector plus Falstad is a pretty decent amount of damage, even for a Garrosh here, so potentially staying a little too long there. But overall, a fort going down for the first Protector, it's not unheard of, but I'm sure they would prefer to keep it to towers.
Now, Tetra, I gotta ask you, typically with North America, we get that water elemental pickup for Jaina, but we are getting the Ring of Frost this time. Tempo Storm really wants to land down that Sans combo, get that taunt, and I guess a Ring of Frost.
There's so much pressure on Cattle right now. Everything relies around him. The Polybomb, the Ring of Frost. It's all dependent on him being able to land that multiple person engage. But look at the other side. Wave of Force, Mighty Gust, Sundering, all these displacement abilities. And then, of course, you have the counter wombo of the Mosh Pit and, of course, the Twilight Dream.
Gonna come down to Cattle, but so far this tournament, he has just performed on that Garrosh. But right now, Fnatic has taken a nice level lead from that Protector earlier, and they're on the way to level 13. Also, they are playing the macro game, setting up here for the Smirk camp in the top right corner, while Tempo Storm buys some time and takes away the turret.
Nice little steal there. Being able to steal that turret away, that's going to be fantastic for them moving into the next objective phase, which will be in top lane. And, well, of course, that is the advantage for Fnatic as the Fountain and pretty much every other structure in that area is, well, dead.
They are looking pretty darn good right now. Fnatic finally hits that 13, so they step out of the lanes a little bit and start to control the lane minions as best as they can, while Tempo Storm plays reserved. Important right now is Medivh. He is consistently checking out where that ETC is, as Breeze will be the one to open up a fight.
Vision is a wonderful thing when you're against a mosh pit, because you do not want to get caught out. Falstad, you mentioned it earlier, he's had Boomerang for a while now. He's beginning to try and build up that burst damage, build up those stacks, and even a little bit of wave clear. Already on 24 stacks for that Gathering Storm.
Yeah, pretty darn solid. Typically when you're hitting around 40, 50, that's when you start to feel like a king, right? You start knocking that damage out there. Also helping out the wave clear as much as possible. So looking good for him. Looking over to Garrosh, so only 13 stacks here, not fully done with his level 1.
Speaking of stacks, though, potentially some of the most important ones here. Arcane Rift. 36.
Close.
If Fan dies now, this could be very upsetting for Tempo Storm. You can see this is why he's staying in bird form, just biding his time. You only need 4.
Now, Fnatic groups up with that push I started earlier, put a little bit of damage on top of that turret, try and peel Tempo Storm towards them, and Tempo Storm bites a little bit, but they are very disciplined. This is probably one of my favorite things about Tempo Storm, or at least this new roster, is that they can be lethal, but they have learned to be careful. They don't take these fights that are going to be a disadvantage for them. Now, with them hitting 13, we can see them finally start to step up if they want to try and catch Fnatic out of position.
And catching and blowing up could become a little bit easier because look at Maina. Glass Cannon coming in at level 13. He is committed to this poke and burst style.
That's a big amount of trust from ETC and Malfurion to try and make sure that if the portal does come forward, A, they'll either tank it for them, or B, be able to control that portal to where Li Ming cannot get picked off. And she should be able to siege away. It's interesting here, too, is he has that Calamity. So there will be times that he has to secure that reset, and if he misses out, he's done for.
Yeah, he is so squishy now. He's already squishy because Li Ming, but going with that, not even taking Force Armor as well. 0 survivability here, except for Dominance at level 4, and that requires you to get kills. Bad Benny, though, is the one moved in. Ring of Frost, he's gone, but the Gust, oh, the massive massive shove is huge there, but the Twilight Dream takes out Garrosh.
That's me and Garrosh. So one reset comes in. Mane was looking for another one, but Fan was able to use that Force of Will, but Glaurung, he is next. Calamity into an attack. Mane able to secure that kill with the help of ETC. That's going to be a 2-for-1 for Fnatic as they jump up in experience and also look to grab the control point.
That was disastrous. A 2-for-1, like you said, but that could have been so much worse. If it hadn't been for June with that massive shove, that would have 100% been a team wipe. Well done, June.
That is true. Here we go. Let's go look at another replay here as Thrall gets thrown forward. Doesn't even have the chance to drop down a Sundering. The Gust in the back left corner. But as you mentioned, Breeze is moving forward to go in for that mosh pit. And you see it go on cooldown too. He got it right before the mosh pit went off, which meant it went on a 10-second cooldown. That would have been huge for Fnatic.
Absolutely clutch. A little bit of over-aggressive by Glaurung, though, I would say. He could have perhaps gone through the portal with Medivh and just gone for the disengage. Instead, going for a little bit of damage, buying his team some time, but perhaps could have got out along with his team there.
Easy pickup here on the Protector for Fnatic as they hit level 16 at 5-1 and kills, and they are looking to open up this map. Couple of things to consider, probably taking out that bottom lane. There's already a well missing, but getting that fort taken away allows for you to chase later on whenever you do control the control point. But with a full talent advantage, you can make a play for a keep, and that's exactly what they are doing.
Fan, by the way, has completed Arcane Rift, so he's going to be allowed to be a little bit more aggressive here. But with Polybomb, he lacks that kind of hard engage that his team is looking for. And this is very much down to, as we already said, Cattle here. But even Cattle could potentially get burst down by the Protector if he's not careful as the Protector begins to move forward. Breeze, remember, Mosh Pit's off cooldown. It only went on the 10-second cooldown in that last fight.
If Tempo Storm gets engaged they want, they always have that Mighty Gust. They also have the Sundering if they want to escape. It's all about keeping ETC alive, and they have done so. Playing around the stuns here as they focus down the keep. So far, though, Tempo Storm's had a pretty decent defense. They're focused on the Protector pretty quickly, but a Mosh Pit comes out, and Garrosh is done for.
Cattle burned the taunt, did not hit anything. Breeze was easily able to dodge that, and then of course it's just an easy mosh pit for the kill. And with that, Fnatic able to guarantee themselves a keep and a kill here, looking solid with a 2-level lead.
And that will be in the thorn on the side of Tempo Storm in a couple of minutes. The catapults coming in that top lane with the control point being to the very far south. They're going to have to make sure they deal with that. And who do they have to deal with it? They don't have a global. They have Sony that can clear it out. If they have to, they can send Jaina up there. But that means Fnatic will come in. Speaking about coming in, there's a Mighty Gust.
Jaina is taken out. Sonya is now the target, but Glaurung able to whirlwind away. Fan gets chunked by Quackness.
Dude.
Those stacks, 40 stacks of Gathering Storm.
Yeah, 40 stacks. We told you, 40 to 50,
You
man.
called it.
The moment you get there, you start hitting like a truck. A truck works too there. I'm pretty sure that would hurt. And Quacknix is showing that in full display. Every time a Force of Will of use, he tries to punish a target by hitting somebody.
Right now, the game's calming down a little as Fnatic go back to what they've been doing the majority of this mid to late game, and that is just poking structures, as they have so much map control right now. But Tempo Storm, even on talents now, but they have to wait for Jaina. She's just respawned, so instead, a potentially risky move here. Sonya moves up to the healing camp. Everyone else is on the way. Looks like they might want to try and force Fnatic to take a fight while they're on even talents.
And Fnatic realizes something might be up. They send everybody but Falstad. Falstad can fly up here if they need him to be into this fight. Fnatic comes up here, they poke a little bit, get some damage on Garrosh, but they don't have to commit. Remember, 1 level and they have 20.
With Mosh Pit being down as well, Twilight Dream not being available, they are missing so many team fight abilities. Very sensible by Fnatic to give up that healing pulse. And who knows, maybe later attempt to take it off the cold dead corpse of Glaurung.
And gonna call it Glaurung like that, huh, Tetcher?
He's the one who has it.
No,
He's
you're
got a target
right.
on his own back there.
Well, now it's all about getting 20. A nice safe game here for Fnatic as they're trying to wait for that 20. Tempo Storm is hungry for a fight. Medivh looking for an opportunity, but Fnatic with all their infrastructure up, they don't have to make any risk.
I don't think we've seen one Polybomb yet. It would be very nice to be able to potentially use it to interrupt the mosh pit, but so far the one mosh pit we've seen all game was very far away from Fan, so he hasn't been able to really use that to the best effect. But I can understand the talent itself. It's just a shame he hasn't had the chance to use it yet.
I wouldn't mind seeing it a little bit more aggressive too. Even if you just go for a toss on a target, if ETC is far enough
just
away,
polybomb that one target.
Polybomb that target, try to blow up that Blizzard, Sonya Spear coming in there. You have a lot of upfront damage available to you. And with a Stukov, if he plays safe, you have the silence down as well. That Polybomb could definitely be expendable, right? It's also a pretty low cooldown.
I can dig that. I really think that could be a good way for them to actually try and get some counter kills, seeing as they are 6 behind, and comeback XP at this point would be such a big deal to try and get themselves towards that level 20. Nice route by Benny, but Breeze just short of range. Bad Benny, though, now the target, but he's just too fast with that Wind Fury.
Sonya's on the way. Tempo Storm wants to fight. They're looking for this fight. Fnatic's gonna start grabbing a little bit of these points here, but 20 is right around the corner as Falsa soaks it up in the middle. So Tempo Storm needs to do something now or needs to escape, and they're looking for it. They go for the Groundbreaker, but it misses Bad Benny. And Tempo Storm, they really should back up now.
That's what they're doing. They're moving back a little bit. In the meantime, Falster continues to ruin top lane and set up a load of catapults. Like you mentioned, backing up is going to have to be the thing, because eventually their core will start to die. Falster will end the game if Tempo Storm does nothing about this.
It's a real struggle here for Tempo Storm. First off, you got Falstad knocking on your core, as you were just mentioning, but you also have to be kind of grouped up. If you section off at any point, Falstad flies in and there's a wind tunnel.
Yeah, exactly, and this is exactly what Fnatic want. Jaina has been forced to top lane. Her commitment right now is to kill Falstad, because if she doesn't, Root doesn't land. That's disastrous. This can happen. Falstad. Oh! The landing, though! A little too short on the flight there as Quacknix gets deleted. What a play by Cattle there, and Quacknix a little short, but in the meantime, the core's still dying.
Yeah, that's right. The core's falling down to 65%. The Winions trying to make a play here for Fnatic. They just now realize it, and they're on their way, so it looks like they'll be able to clean it up, but they lose 50% on their core, while Fnatic grabs that bottom point. Heads up play from Tempo Storm. Did not see that coming. In fact, if I was at Falstad, I would just say, I'm lucky.
Yeah, just like, I escaped. Didn't get hit by the Ring of Frost. Easy fly. Oh, no.
That was impressive, to say the least, but it certainly did cost Tempo Storm, and they are trying to make a play before Falstad spawns in the next 30 seconds.
Indomitable's already been used, and as such, Cattle gets rooted. June eats a huge amount of damage. The counter Sunder on the portal there, but Cattle able to survive and backs up here. They're trying to make something happen while Falstad is dead.
And Fnatic's doing a good job here of dancing like they may want to fight. That makes sure that Tempo Storm stays in this area with all 5 members, while those catapults, again, begin to stack up. But the numbers are starting to climb here for Tempo Storm. 68%, and they continue to climb towards that 100. But here's a Falstad who has just spawned.
77 to 99. They're trying to get Breeze, but he's able to pull back, and Cattle eats a crazy amount of damage. Has to portal. Falstad, instead of going for the core pressure, is joining his team for the fight. The massive shove on Breeze is good. Psalm was looking to port. There is the Mighty Gust with the Wind Tunnel. The Ring of Frost hits no one here as Benny moves on to Fan. The Twilight gets the kill on Jaina here.
Gets the kill on Jaina, and the core is about to take damage soon. The mech is picked up here as Tempo Storm was able to get it.
Mech? Okay, Cattle gets back in the mech. Like you said, the core, the shield is the catapults were cleared up by the minions as the Protector's coming in. Trick takes out Thrall, looking for Quack. This barrel roll saves his life. Level 16 talent able to get him out, but Furion's down. They're doing it, Trick. Tempo moving through. Sonya's clearing top. They are not exactly stabilizing. They're still behind, but they're at least going to get 20 out of this.
How? How did Tempo Storm do that?
They got the Protector. Fnatic dived past him to look for the kills, but Fan, beautiful force of will to keep himself alive, and then that Protector able to start cleaning up.
And the presence of mind, too, to rotate a couple people in the Protector as well to keep them alive. Fan on the Medivh, just doing enough to get out of that fight. He was low on health, but able to retreat. Sonya able to back in time to clear up that top lane. And Tempo Storm, who was 3, 4 levels behind here as we move to the Protector phase, able to get level 20 and tie up the game.
They can't afford to get the maximum value out of this Protector, though, because if they do, they will have been staying way too long. People will be alive for Fnatic, 26 out of Protector, 12 for Malfurion. Fnatic will be back, they will have every heroic available, and the sensible move. Absolutely clutch play here by Tempo, moving away, running away to live and fight another day instead of risking being wombo comboed out of this Protector.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they do not care about maximum value. They're still in this game, a game that I would have counted out of a long time ago. All they have to do here is continue to keep an eye on this top lane, and they continue to do so, appealing people back here and there, making a play potentially for the support camp, which is a good play for them, because it can also clear out the catapults in the top. Fnatic starts to rotate over and look at the idea of maybe poking.
46% on the core, though. It's still so low, and that's always going to be a concern. So Fnatic trying to force a mistake here, because if they get kills, then they can potentially move in and just try and race the core while getting attacked. There's the Polybomb, focusing it, Torb with the Sundering to zone out. The Wind Tunnel, Moshpit gets interrupted by the massive shove again, but the Healing Pulse stolen by Tempo, and Cattle lives thanks to the portal.
The tanks both barely getting away with their lives there. Breeze able to escape as well. Smexy bringing out that heal. Garrosh getting the heal from Stukov as well. Close fight between those two, and you keep calling out June, man. June is playing heck of a game right now.
These massive shoves have interrupted Breeze so many times. He's going to be having nightmares about the Admiral right now. because when he goes to bed tonight, because it's dominating. June is playing so good and is the reason his team's still in this game.
That is not something I want to dream about. A big, poppy arm just coming at your face. Ugh, it sounds disgusting. As Fnatic turns around and grabs this turret here, Tempo Storm continuing to do the same as they grab that healing beacon to the top. We're going to have 2 turrets here for Fnatic, and it looks like we're going to come down to 1 more control point. And here's the thing, if Tempo Storm is able to get this control point, find a kill or 2, they could run it right up the gut here, especially 22 minutes in.
They've cleared out mid-fort. They've done a little bit of damage, I think, to the tier 2 structures. The possibility of them being able to try and make this play onto the end game scenario is there. They've cleaned out top lane consistently here. The catapult pressure, they are going to have to deal with these mercenaries as soon as possible. I wouldn't mind them just letting that lane push up a bit so they can do it safely. But otherwise, if they can deal with that, they're going to be able to fight for that potentially last protector without too many difficulties other than, you know, the entirety of Fnatic.
Do not forget, though, about the global factor here. Falstad in that top lane will always have the opportunity during this control point to continue pushing in the top lane. If too much is committed from Tempo Storm, he can just switch the flip the switch, go straight to the middle lane, find a Mighty Gust with the aid of ETC, and that could be lights out for Tempo Storm. Tempo Storm has got to play pixel perfect in these next 2 to 3 minutes.
Medivh continuing to do exactly what he should be, keeping an eye on Fnatic, but also backing up when he thinks he needs to, using that Guardian of Tristfall as well. You have catapults against you, clean them up in a single shot. Guardian of Tristfall, available at your nearest Medivh.
Medivh actually might be the best one to clear that up too, especially with that pickup, because he's able to get to the lane faster, right? He can drop down a portal, jump between the two. If he has to, he can bring in someone else to help out with that Falstad. That will be a nuisance. But it's time to do or die for both these teams here as a control point unlocks in 3 seconds.
Sam takes a little bit of damage, but June already cleaning that up. No difficulties there. Both teams. Which one is going to pull the trigger? It looks like it's Breeze, but the face melt is good. The wind tunnel, but they're going to try and focus Cattle, but they can't get to him here. And now the turnaround onto Benny is happening here, looking for the kill as Jada puts him down and gets the kill.
Benny holding on that Sundering a little bit too late, so I'm able to snipe him there. That's going to be 1 target down as Fnatic turns around. Look at that, Karosh low in health, but he's escaping. He's got 40 armor.
They're moving forward once again. The turrets duel in the center, but Tempo Storm with Thrall dead have the man advantage. They move on, but Breeze continuing to be a menace and just threatening that mosh pit.
And here's the thing, with 1 pickoff, now suddenly Tempo Storm can afford to put 1 person in that top lane and deal with those catapults. They have to keep an eye on Breeze in particular and make sure that he never gets the engage that he wants. Medivh already heading out there to the top lane. Turrets being also controlled here by Tempo Storm. They have a chance to finish this off.
Tested once again. Li Ming once again gaining super good poke value here. Fan clears out the catapults there. You can see SMX and Quacknix were positioned to try and catch him out, but the positioning of Fan too good there. As Tempo Storm, they're beginning to tick up here. Fnatic, they will all be alive. There's still a keep in the way. This is absolutely defendable, and potentially, if they can delay a little bit more, raidable, but Tempo Storm, they're all rotating back down here. Raids are going to become even more difficult.
I'm worried. I think Fnatic has to go now and start to control this point, but they have to do it without a Thrall. It takes a little bit here for him to get here. Almost up to 95%. Breeze immediately sits on top of the point. The polybomb comes out. He power slides away, so he's safe in that regard. 35 seconds for another polybomb.
The clutch overtime here. Now Breeze has a lot more safety for this mosh pit. Another incredible face melt. But Glaurung moving forward onto Benny. Once again, Ring of Frost focusing ETC. And he goes down. The silence from Stuka prevents any counter.
Wow, Tempo Storm able to grab that kill, and they're looking for another one here. As Cattle gets aggressive, looking to go for a throw. Couldn't quite get it, but the Protector is here, and Bad Benny is the next target. He bolts away, attempting to escape, trying to buy time.
Moving in, they want to try and grab. They're going for the back door here. Quacknix already takes a key shot here for the slow. We see Malfurion on the way, leaving on the way. 2 catapults on the core. In comes Jada. Last chance defense. Twilight Dream, Astral Communion.
Oh my gosh!
Goes down, and Fnatic steal a victory from the hands of defeat.
If you're a fan of Fnatic, you're used to seeing those core calls. Quacknix able to get us. Mexi even coming in with the Bolt Twilight Dream, working in those auto attacks, and Tempo Storm was a hair too late. What an incredible game number 1, though, between these two.
But you can see these guys, Fnatic, they are not happy with that victory. That could well and truly have been a loss there. They are freaking out, but they need to keep calm. They need to keep calm and refocus, because that could have been so much worse.
Yeah, that is a demoralizing loss if you're Tempo Storm. Finding those couple of picks, taking down the Protector, you were dropped down to 46% on your core, and you defended. You micromanaged the macro game as well as you could, and then you lose like that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Tempo Storm definitely, as you mentioned, will have to take a breather after that one.
And I can't blame them if they do. Tempo Storm, by all intents and purposes, won that game. But turns out global heroes when it comes to going for a 50% core with catapults already on it. Medivh, he cleaned out the proxy lanes, but didn't deal with the ones already pushing. And that's why those catapults were able to get in.
Big win here for Fnatic. Let's go over to our panelists and see what they thought about that match.
Yeah, wasn't worried for a second. No, not at all. That could have gone either way at any point. What on earth was that game dread? It was all over the place, constant fighting back and forth. Triglav Protector's really powerful. For me, it was more of a miracle hold on Tempo Storm's end. Once Fnatic was able to get large control over the top half of the map, getting a little bit of the damage in. There was even a moment where you saw Tempo have a miracle pick onto Falstad, and then I felt like immediately off the spawn, we could have seen that backdoor attempt even a little bit earlier from Fnatic. So honestly, I'm more impressed with the fact that Tempo somehow held on to that. And that being said, I feel like a lot of some of the concerns are only going to be increased in the fact that we just saw Tempo on Volskaya Foundry, which is a little bit more of the North American flavor. But again, they bring out the Medivh, and that has not, again, been one of their strongest heroes. Caldo?
It was a really surprising game, I feel. Like, first of all, easy game. No, I mean, far from it. But there was a lot of things that really impressed me. First of all, Fnatic played way better than expected. As I said before, we headed into the series, I was pretty doubtful about how they would perform. And Mena, with even him going straight into his 13 here, he went full glass cannon there, never died, I think, and put an insane damage out, really carried throughout the entire mid game. And they did very well in the early and the mid game, and I feel what this Fnatic is going to be known for forever after we have two players leave is just Quacknix's calls and his backdoor attempts that we've seen from the beginning of 2018 up to now. Once again, the game's basically over, and the only Hail Mary is stop the portals, fly back in, and end it.
Hope for it.
I'm just going to say there is no reason that game had any being at that level. That should have 99% should have been Fnatic, easy victory at like level 20 or so, and they did everything possible to let Tempo Storm back in the game. That was more miscues, I think, but the minute it got on even ground, yes, Tempo Storm was able to bring it. So if I'm Fnatic, I'm saying, man, that was not clean at all.
But on the note of... I mean, you can hit it with it. I was just going to compliment Mene. Again, as you said, he won them that first fight over the objective. He single-handedly was like, Psalm, there's no minions in the way. I'm going to just proceed to 50% you by myself, one shot, and it was like, that's their point.
And I think I would disagree to the extent that I would say there were two different... Like, the early and mid-game were exceptionally well played by them and very controlled. And then towards the end, you could see nerfs coming through, and then there I agree with you. There were a lot of mistakes where they allowed to get them back in. But also, to highlight something else, once again, we saw just June playing absolutely insane.
Yes, crazy.
Breeze had a couple of moments where he was about to hit 4-man mosh pits, and it just gets interrupted by June every single time. There was one moment where they fought over the healing pulse, and Breeze slides in, and he's about to queue it in, and there comes the interrupt. If that hits, then they're all getting wiped and the game's over right there. And he did that multiple times, so he just played so amazing on Tempo Storm's side.
And I could hear a lot of intense discussion from the teams behind us. No doubt, realistically, looking at actually what went down in that game. I wonder where we're going to end up going next, of course. But do we have replays, or are we?
I don't think we're going to go that route. Actually, like I said, we're going to go that route. This is, one of the things. If we just pause right now. Okay, so the biggest part here has always been, can we get that pick? If we actually run it back a few seconds, the prime target is obviously going to be Breeze. This is when things are super tense. You get the flip, you get the toss over, you get the stun, and you hope that you can get the lockdown. So we'll run it forward, and we're going to get the toss. And you can actually see Psalm's like, look, if we get that, and Breeze created some space and then here, but then we pause, right? So that's like, oh no, I missed the big combo, I missed everything, but you don't quit on this, right? You're going to see Psalm actually, Benny is way, way far forward as we run it forward. This is when that level 16 root comes in. Psalm's like, wait a minute, let me make up for this. And you can actually see he goes full machine gun here. As you're going to see Q, Q, Q. I mean, it was just, how can I make up for this miss, right? And it's, you never lose faith in what you're doing. Obviously, that won them the Protector eventually as things started to turn there. But again, there was just, I don't know, I had like a plethora of replays, but it was all just like single target picks.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you really say, hey, these are the moments?
What that really highlights for me, though, is the problem that Fnatic had in the late game. There was a position already taken by Tempo Storm on the control point, and then it's that constant battle between ETC, who is kind of on the squishy side, especially if there is a good flip into a silence. So he kind of has to push into Garrosh, and it's this tightrope that he has to walk the entire time. And when they escaped there, that was a moment where I feel you could also see that even though Benny dies afterwards, Tempo Storm had a bit of a coordination issue, because if June gets a heads-up notice, hey, I'm flipping now, he can get the silence in, and then Breeze doesn't get that last slide, and he is dead right there, and that could win them immediately, and you are all grinning, so I'm not quite sure what's happening.
Well, because is anything more apt than Fnatic taking them to Tomb of the Spider Queen for game number 2?
I was grinning because I know I'm getting more Mene play, more Mene mages.
Okay.
Uh-huh.